The 1930s were a time of great uncertainty. The world was still recovering from the devastation of the First World War, and economic depression gripped many nations. In Europe, resentment lingered over the Treaty of Versailles, which had harshly punished Germany after its defeat. This resentment, coupled with economic hardship, created fertile ground for extremist ideologies to take root. In Germany, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party rose to power, promising to restore German pride and prosperity. Hitler's ideology was built on a foundation of nationalism, militarism, and racial purity. He rearmed Germany, defying the Treaty of Versailles, and began expanding German territory, first annexing Austria in 1938 and then Czechoslovakia in 1939. Meanwhile, in Japan, militarists gained increasing influence over the government, seeking to expand their empire in Asia. Japan invaded Manchuria in 1931 and launched a full-scale invasion of China in 1937. The world watched with apprehension as these aggressive actions threatened to ignite another global conflict. The League of Nations, formed after the First World War to prevent future wars, proved ineffective in the face of such blatant aggression. Its efforts to appease Hitler and other aggressors only emboldened them further. The stage was set for a catastrophic conflict that would engulf the world in the deadliest war in human history. On September 1st, 1939, the uneasy peace was shattered when Germany invaded Poland. This act of aggression triggered a chain reaction as Great Britain and France, bound by treaties to defend Poland, declared war on Germany. World War II had begun. Germany, employing its blitzkrieg strategy of lightning-fast attacks using tanks and aircraft, quickly overran Poland. The Soviet Union, having signed a non-aggression pact with Germany, seized the opportunity to occupy eastern Poland, further expanding its territory. In 1940, Germany unleashed its blitzkrieg on Western Europe, conquering Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, and ultimately, France. The fall of France left Great Britain standing alone against the Nazi war machine. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Winston Churchill, Britain braced itself for a German invasion. The Battle of Britain, a fierce air campaign waged over the skies of England, ensued. The Royal Air Force, though outnumbered, fought valiantly against the Luftwaffe, ultimately forcing Hitler to postpone his invasion plans. In June 1941, Hitler broke his pact with Stalin and launched a surprise attack on the Soviet Union, Operation Barbarossa. The German army, initially successful, was drawn into a brutal war of attrition on the Eastern Front. The vastness of the Soviet Union and the fierce resistance of the Soviet people, coupled with the onset of a harsh winter, took a heavy toll on the German forces. The tide of the war began to turn in December 1941 when Japan, seeking to cripple the United States Pacific Fleet and secure resources in Southeast Asia, launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The attack, which killed over 2,400 Americans, brought the United States into the war. With the industrial might of the United States now thrown behind the Allied war effort, the balance of power shifted. In the Pacific, the United States Navy, after a series of hard-fought battles, began to push back against the Japanese advance. The Battle of Midway in June 1942 proved to be a decisive turning point, crippling the Japanese fleet and marking the beginning of the end for Japanese expansion. On the Eastern Front, the Battle of Stalingrad, which raged from August 1942 to February 1943, became a turning point in the war against Germany. The battle, one of the bloodiest in history, resulted in a decisive Soviet victory and marked the beginning of Germany's retreat from the east. In North Africa, British and American forces defeated the German Afrika Korps, led by General Erwin Rommel, securing Allied control of the Mediterranean. In June 1944, the long-awaited Allied invasion of Western Europe, Operation Overlord, took place. American, British and Canadian forces landed on the beaches of Normandy, France, in the largest amphibious assault in history. After fierce fighting, the Allies broke out of the Normandy beachhead and began their advance eastward toward Germany. By early 1945, Germany, facing defeat on both the eastern and western fronts, was on the verge of collapse. As Allied forces closed in on Berlin, Hitler committed suicide in his bunker. On May 7, 1945, Germany surrendered unconditionally to the Allies, marking the end of the war in Europe. In the Pacific, the war continued for several more months. The United States, facing fierce Japanese resistance, engaged in a series of costly island-hopping campaigns, culminating in the battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa. In August 1945, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These devastating attacks, coupled with the Soviet Union's declaration of war on Japan, forced Japan's unconditional surrender on August 15, 1945, bringing World War II to an end. World War II had a profound and lasting impact on the world. The war resulted in an estimated 40 to 85 million fatalities, with civilians accounting for a significant portion of the deaths. The Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime, stands as a stark reminder of the horrors of war and the dangers of unchecked hatred and intolerance. The war also led to a major realignment of global power. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as the world's two superpowers, ushering in the Cold War, a period of geopolitical tension and rivalry that lasted for decades. The war also gave rise to the United Nations, an international organization tasked with maintaining international peace and security, in the hope that such a devastating conflict would never happen again.